Okay, it says it's streaming live.
Yeah,
Yes.
just give me a second here.
Okay.
Okay. Now what do we do? Okay.
Yeah, we are recording. It says.
Okay, so you got Catherine, you can go ahead then. Looks like we're recording.
Okay. Well, hi everybody. It's been a long time. Good to see everybody. I get to see Heather every once in a while because we're on the same street now. Yeah, it's been quite an 8-month period. Cheryl reminds me that it's been 8 months. So welcome back, everybody. I'll call the meeting to order. We have no presentations. Imagine that. That's going to be different too when we get presentations. I guess they're all going to be by video or Zoom as well. I guess I'll move into the meat of our meeting. We don't have our new member here. She's at the dentist. She's going to be joining us a little bit later. So I think we can move right into item 2.2, accessibility of Ontarians with Disability Act. And we have an update from Cheryl.
Yeah, sorry, Catherine. I just have one question for Tammy for procedure, because I know that Heather has to leave early. So if Heather is not here and Carolyn's not here, will we still have quorum or will we lose quorum?
We have Doug, Louise. We have four.
I think
we have 4, and we should have. Well,
that's a question for Tammy. That's a Tammy question.
Oh, sorry. I'm just thinking it through.
Okay, so so we just need to be mindful that Heather has to leave early.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So on that note, I'll just jump right in. So the city of Barrie, like all municipalities, has to comply with AODA. So we have a really big stinker of a compliance requirement that we need to comply with as of January 1st, 2021. So really that means by December 31st, 2020, we need to have all of our ducks in a row. And it's related to the accessible information and communication standards, specifically the website. And so we've been working towards meeting this compliance standard for a couple of years now, because every time we have to do a refresh for our website, anything like that, anytime we're integrating a system for one of our departments with the existing system we have to, we've been making sure that it's accessible, or that it's got the capability of us doing add-ons or purchasing updates to make it accessible when we need it. And so we're in a really good spot. We're not 100% there, but we're in a really good spot. The big thing right now that we're dealing with is our content. Hello? Sorry, somebody just said something.
Hi there, Catherine. Can I get everybody to mute themselves?
Yes.
Oh. Sorry, Tammy. Yes, so I think there must have been some feedback.
We're getting feedback. I just wanted to see if we can get people to mute.
Yeah, I think everyone's muted. Okay, so what we're dealing with right now is we're just dealing with our content, because our content is part of the website. And so I'm working with our IT department and our communications department to audit the PDFs and documents that are on our website. And you can just imagine we have a lot of documents on our website, and a lot of them aren't accessible. And so we're removing a lot of documents. Like like we're being very thoughtful, you know, like, but it's easy to remove things that we no longer need. Like, for example, we have agendas from the mayor's breakfast from 20 years ago, and we don't need that. So, you know, things like that are just going to come off. And then other things that you know, like standards, engineering drawings, maps, things that might be used by community members. We're looking at how often they're accessed. That's one of the beauties of the web, is you can get your analytics to determine how often somebody actually opens something. And then if we're able to make it accessible, if we're able to remediate it for accessibility, we're doing that. If we're not, we're looking at pulling it and making it an archived copy. Or if it's really essential that it's on the web, then we'll probably pay for a professional to fix. There's a few things from an engineering perspective that we can't do in-house. Most other things our staff are able to do, no problem. But some things we don't have to, per the legislation, make accessible because the technology is just not there. Like, for example, some forms of mapping, site drawings, things like that, the architectural drawings and plans, the technology just is not there to make it meaningful for someone who's visually impaired. But that doesn't mean we can't make it accessible. Because, for example, if somebody who is visually impaired wants that information, well, they could come and sit with me and we could have a conversation about it. And I could I could verbally discuss everything that they would be finding on that. And that, so we're still going to be providing it in an accessible format, just not necessarily on our website. So that's happening right now, and it's big. And it's good. Like, it's really good. That it's kind of like cleaning a house, or like when you clean your refrigerator, you know, like when you clean your refrigerator and you wash everything, and then afterwards you put everything back and it looks so beautiful that you just kind of walk over to the refrigerator and you open the door and you look at it just for no reason other than the fact that it's so clean and pretty and shiny. That's kind of what's happening right now. And I thought it was just me that was going to get excited about it, but our IT folks and our communications folks were pretty excited about deleting stuff that's just been hanging around the website for who knows why. Because I think what happens is old stuff just builds up, and so we're just cleaning it out, and it's helpful because at the end of the day, the legislation says that we have to be accessible. And if we're not, it's very expensive. The fines are approximately $150,000 per day to municipalities if they're not accessible. So we're working really, really hard because it's cheaper to do it right than it is to not do it. So that's what we're doing. And so that I just need to make sure that you guys are in the loop on that. So if you have any questions, chime in. I'm just going to mute myself.
Any questions, anybody? We're good? We're good? Okay. Doug, we're good? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
Okay,
good.
Good.
Just one question. Can everybody hear me and understand me correctly? Okay. So for some reason, Tammy is having issues understanding me. So it's not clear. My system, I've had several meetings today with my system, so I think it's working well. I just want to make sure you guys are hearing me well. Okay, you're hearing me well? Okay, so we'll have to look into that. Okay, thank you.
This unmuting and muting thing is a challenge to get used to. I'm unmuted, right? You can hear me? Yes? Okay. All right. Thank you. If we have no questions, then I guess we can move on to 2.3, the impact of COVID on accessibility. And I expect that this is going to be a lively conversation. Not muted. Okay. So Cheryl, would you like to start out by explaining what you're looking for this?
Well, I'm not really looking for anything. I just think it would be really inappropriate for us to have our very first meeting and not talk about how COVID has impacted us. And I know from speaking with other people who have disabilities and other concerns that it's been very impactful for them in ways that it may not have been impactful for others without those considerations. You know, and I speak with the Seniors Advisory Committee quite a bit, and they have shared some serious issues with social isolation as a result of COVID. And it's tough because some of them were socially isolated before, and the restrictions just, you know, created that more so. I speak with community members who live with mobility issues and use wheelchairs, and they have a lot of anxiety because they don't feel confident that people will move away when they're trying to go do their grocery shopping or whatever. Like, they need that physical space, like they have their fears. And able-bodied people can step out of the way a little bit more easily than someone in a wheelchair can. And so I've heard some of those things just in the last 8 months through the work that I do. And as I said, I think this is our first meeting back. How are you? How has this affected you? How has this affected your family? So this is just a open conversation.
That's right. I think we talked about it earlier, just saying that we would like to know how everyone is, and you know, if anybody's, you know, the impacts I think have been so powerful and unexpected, maybe, and I think maybe that's something that we can talk about. I'm certainly looking forward to hearing who would like to go first. Who would like to go first? Heather? Sorry, did I see your hand?
Was Louise.
No.
I
Okay,
could go
Doug.
first if
Doug,
you'd like.
okay, yeah.
I'll just speak briefly. I guess really in the early days, because of my mobility issues, I didn't want to stand in line in the grocery store, inside or outside. I was very worried about that. So actually, friends, I would go sometimes, but all friends would go and get me things, and that was really, really helpful. I found I was very anxious about what I was unreal. Like, you know, would I have enough groceries in the house? Would I be able to get them? And then not going to the recreation center for Aquafit, and the gym has really impacted me in terms of my mobility. And so now I did find the Zoom DON program, and I'm doing that every day. But, you know, I know that you can go back to Allendale and you can sign up, but I'm thinking, oh, so I'm with my cane, I've got my bag, I'm going to get undressed right at the pool. Then do I have to wait for a change room? So, you know, I think, I'm going to do exercise by Zoom and go walking. And a bit of the self-isolation too. Like, I really, thank God my friends reach out to me and I do to them, but I am on my own, and it is very different. Particularly, I think when the weather was kind of miserable and cold. But, and so I'm also reaching out to some seniors that I know are on their own now and phoning them. So that, and everything by Zoom. Like, sometimes I can be on Zoom 2 or 3 times a day with meetings and things. And I thought, I'm zoomed out. So I got a little box, and it's a Bluetooth speaker, and that makes a big difference. When you have a hearing problem, being able to concentrate, this is really good. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Thanks, thanks, Louise. That's, I think, really the anxiety, I think, for a lot of people has been horrible. I think we get so isolated at home that we're we hesitate to go out again, which is really strange because we know if we go out, we'll get, you know, fresh air or we'll see people. We don't necessarily have to stop and chat closely with them, but we get into a pattern of staying home. And I think that's also something that is dangerous for people. So who's next? Doug, would you like to go?
I think I've had the best, I shouldn't say the best, taste of both worlds, you know, because I, like many people, fall into the vulnerable sector category during COVID. We've been very careful when we've gone out, especially shopping, right at the beginning when they had senior hours and for people with special needs. It was very, I was very anxious in stores. It was almost like I was running through the stores just to get what we needed and get out. And my wife, unfortunately, didn't want to do that. She wanted to go up and down aisles. As far as going, you know, we all miss things such as restaurants and that. But I've been fortunate because the gyms have started to open. On the other hand, the Barrie YMCA is gone now until the new Y is built. And I think that's has affected a lot of people. My own personal take on it is that the Y wasn't just for working out and getting exercise, but it's a social aspect of meeting all our old cronies. And I don't want to use the word old, but all our cronies, I guess. And that aspect we do miss. We did manage to get away for a few days last week, and of all place to go to, nothing bad about it, but it was Timmins. And I figured the low case of COVID and had never been there. It was a great experience, but it is very, it does play on you physically and mentally, that you have to be careful. And in some cases, like I said, I've had a little bit of the best of the ability to get out where other people, I can only imagine. We have friends that are single and they have nowhere to go, and other than maybe doing some groceries themselves. And it's amazing that we've got to this stage in the last 7 months, I guess. And it's the unknown now, right? It's the fear of the unknown. We don't know what's going to happen over the next 3 or 4 months. They talk about the second wave. And I think that's going to, I don't even know if we're out of the first wave yet, but at the end of the day, there's got to be some sort of support system especially for people with accessibility issues that can either help them shop or help them even just with a phone call or something, social interaction. I'd like to see more of that. So that's my story.
Thanks, Doug. I think you've made some good points too. I think we do need to have a support system. I'll just add in here that I have to say that I'm a little fearful for what will happen when the days get shorter, when it gets colder, when people can't go out even as they're going out now. I'm afraid that people are going to become very, mentally and emotionally unwell because they can't go out, and there are so many people who are by themselves. I'm afraid we do need to figure out some kind of support system that I'm not sure is there yet. That's just my point there. Heather, did you have your hand up? Okay.
I figured I'd let somebody else start. I have two additions to what Louise and Doug have said. I agree entirely. One is the observation of, for myself and for many, many other parents of kids with disabilities, there has been a huge loss of access to PSWs, to nursing care, for in-home care. And because a number of our kids have not been given doctor go ahead to go back to school because of the way school has been set up, We've also all lost our 6 hours a day of respite, 6 hours a day of nursing and physio and occupational therapy. So there's a lot that's missing for our kids. And like the school board is trying to help, but they're actually struggling to find enough teachers to be able to do what is necessary for our kids. So my daughter hasn't actually been able to start school yet. She's 16. It's a month into class. They're still trying to get that set up for her. And when they do, it's going to be very limited in terms of hours and number of classes that she can do just because of her disabilities. So just an awareness that families with kids with disabilities are really already struggling and missing out. And then you add on to it, you know, if they've got other children who are maybe schooling at home because their disabled child is high risk, so they can't send the other kids to school, and they're trying to work or they're trying to balance that. There's just a lot of extra stressors there. And those are, again, folks who would typically rely a lot on some of our city services for supports, for respite, for time to get exercise and, you know, physiotherapy for their kids and stuff. So all of that is missing. The other thing I've noticed among sort of the teen 20, 30 somethings that I know of who have disabilities is that there's a real fear of taking the bus. So a lot of people over the summer, you know, if they were able to find an old power wheelchair or what have you, they were trying to do as much as they could without having to get on the bus. As winter closes in, that starts to feel less and less optional. And my concern is just, I know city crews do an absolute fabulous job trying to keep the sidewalks plowed. But if we've got folks with mobility issues trying to avoid buses and then sidewalks aren't getting plowed, like then what impact does that have? So just an awareness, no criticism at all, but just those are some of the things that I've been aware of.
Sorry, that's a different perspective than the rest of us have. I'd just like to welcome Carolyn. Hi, Carolyn. We're talking about the impact of COVID on our lives and on others with disabilities. And we've heard from Louise and from Doug and from Heather and a little bit from me. So I don't know if you have anything to add. We're going to introduce you after this item, if that's okay. But welcome.
You need to unmute yourself, Carolyn. Carolyn, there's a mute button. You need to unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me now? Thank you very much, Heather. I've been very fortunate because Peter, my husband, has still worked, and he's an essential worker, so he has worked throughout the COVID. And I am a retired speech pathologist, so I have been at home. Our lives have not been impacted significantly like yours has, Heather, or I came into yours, Doug, towards the end. So at this point, Catherine, I have nothing to offer in terms of this topic.
There we go. I have a new laptop. This is the first time I've used it, so I'm still trying to figure out where the buttons are. So that's why I was looking for my unmute, because everything's kind of changed in the last 5 minutes. So thank you, Carolyn. And I don't have much to say other than I think social isolation is a real problem for people with mood disorders. And people who are dealing with existing anxiety and depression, we really have to look out for those people. I know there's been kind of a shift, and we've been talking about this. We did I will just say I co-authored a book early in the pandemic that was about kindness during the pandemic, and you know, I was talking with my publisher the other day about how that that sense of optimism and we can do it, and baking all kinds of bread and goodies and learning to knit and all of those things, they're great, but now we've done them, and now winter's coming. And I think we were talking about the shift in sort of the optimism. I'll say that. And I think that's a real concern, because before we were looking at things we could do. And now we're thinking, oh, you know, we could go to a restaurant a month ago, kind of, but now it looks like we can't. And you know, our numbers are going way up. Then what do we do now? You know, what do we do now? We've done all the fun and creative things we can do to try and get through this. And you know, what do we do now? And where does that leave us? Where does that leave our spirits, I suppose, is what I would add to that. That's what I have to add. And getting back to what Doug said, I really do think that we need to have some new systems in place, and whether they're, you know, official systems, or whether we, you know, promote a new kind of volunteerism, I don't know, but I think we should all be thinking about what we can do as we go forward. Cheryl.
Hi. I think that we absolutely do need to think about new systems, and I think people need support. And I think it's awesome that you're all kind of on board with that. I think what we need to do first, though, is understand what systems and supports are currently available, because there is, like, this community is doing a ton of things for a lot of individuals in various different areas with different vulnerabilities. So maybe something that might be cool for future would be to understand exactly what all has happened while we've all been self-isolating, what community organizations out there have been busy working and doing things to support others with COVID, through the COVID pandemic. Supporting others with COVID is a whole other conversation. But before we move on, I wanted to reach out to Councillor Thompson to see if he had anything to share. I know you're driving, so I don't want to put too much pressure on you, but if you have something to share, please jump in.
Thank you. Through the chair. Actually, you know, it's a two-tail story for me. Part of me has the feeling of guilt because I haven't been affected by the COVID in any real way. My job is essential. I'm extremely busy. I have a lot of interaction. I employ 60 people. And, you know, I see the people around me that are suffering and the fear of the anxieties and the unknown. And that's where, so on my personal side, my family's healthy. I'm not really in the age where, you know, I know it affects everybody, but I'm not in that vulnerable age group. So it's a little bit of a guilt and then on the counselor side of me, I have that anxiety and stuff for my residents that I've reached out to, and I've left my phone number in, you know, the apartments, and for people struggling with just making ends meet and grocery. So it's a little bit difficult for me in that. And, you know, I'm fortunate that I don't suffer from any, you know, that I'm aware of depression and all that. But sometimes you get a little bit overwhelmed with the guilt that I haven't been affected, and you kind of want to feel what everybody else is to a point. And you know, I'm a germaphobe to start with, so there's really no like I always had hand sanitizers and baby wipes all over my trucks, and you know, other than wearing a mask. But that's pretty much it. And thanks.
Oops. Okay, are we good? Okay, good points, everybody. And Cheryl, thank you for that. Are we ready to move on to?
Sorry,
to-
Catherine.
Oh.
I had to very quickly take a medical phone call for my kid. I just wanted to clarify, did we say anything about pulling together a list of those systems and supports?
Mhm.
Is it possible for us to make that list available somehow through the city website or something? Maybe you covered that. I apologize if I missed it.
Oops. Sorry. I think Cheryl did mention that we need to figure out what community organizations have been doing and what they are doing. And, you know, maybe we can make a list, and maybe it can be something as informal to start as maybe each of us can put together what we know about and the organizations we know about, and just maybe send all of those ideas to Cheryl, and she can compile them for us. Would that work for you, Cheryl?
No, don't send them to me. I think it's a great idea for you guys to compile them or to gather any ideas or reach out. We do have some information that we've kept consistent on our website about resources that are available, like basic resources that are available on our website throughout the pandemic, for both, you know, like, well, for anybody in the community, but there have been some specific resources for people with disabilities, for seniors, things like that, for parents, what have you. But we can only do so much. But you guys, yes, because you guys are all in different spheres, you have different networks, you have different interests. That would be really interesting, is to find out who's supporting your networks, who, when you reach out to your networks and the people in your networks who need support, who's been supporting them, or maybe they haven't had support, maybe there's a gap. And so compile that. Don't send it to me, because you guys are all very capable individuals, but if next meeting we have, you guys, that can be a discussion. And maybe that's something that, like, we've had we had 2 meetings. We had a meeting in January, a meeting in February, and then we'll have a meeting in October. So maybe that'll be the project that comes out of 2020 from the Accessibility Advisory Committee, is a compilation of different resources and things that have been working for people. And it could serve a couple purposes. It could be both a list to share with people who may not know about this yet, and it could also be a celebration for all these organizations that have been doing all this work, or not even organizations, maybe organizations and individual people and families that have been doing all this work to help support people in our community. So maybe that's something that we can do. So yes, but don't send it to me.
Okay, well, then I will say, everybody send them to me. And no.
You don't need to send them. Like,
okay,
you're going to talk about it. Everybody can, you guys are all adults, all very capable of doing your own work. You can collect it and then share and talk about it at the next meeting. Don't add extra work to your plate. Like, you don't want to do that.
You know me, I don't have enough to do.
Oh.
So. Okay, so for next meeting, let's say, next meeting, let's have everyone bring their list of organizations that are supporting people in our communities during COVID. I can say I'll just point out that my groups have been, the groups I'm involved with have been particularly wonderful. The Mood Disorders Association of Ontario has been brilliant, reaching out to people on a regular basis, on a personal basis. And so I wanted to give them a shout out because they've been just incredible for people who are suffering with mood disorders. They've just been great. So I'm sure that there are many others out there. Now, maybe we'll take a little break and have Carolyn introduce herself. Is that okay, Carolyn?
That's fine, but I did see Doug had his hand up.
Sorry. Who had their hand up? Oh,
Doug.
Doug. I'm sorry, Doug. I didn't see you. Okay, go ahead.
You know, myself, and I guess you have to pardon my ignorance, but I am very unaware of any of the services that are out there, and I would appreciate having a list of those services, because I think then maybe I could connect the dots as to what they do provide, and maybe that's something as a group that we can decide what is the gap, and maybe there's need for an additional group or additional service or additional volunteer service whatsoever. I don't know, but I certainly have no idea who is doing what to help out people with accessibility issues during this COVID pandemic. So for me to come to the next meeting and say, yep, this is what I suggest. I mean, I can either be redundant or just completely way out in left field. So I would like to get the information of what groups are out there before I think, and I don't know if everybody agrees or if anybody has the same issues I have, because I'm certainly not aware of who is doing what on this particular topic.
Okay. Thanks, Doug. Is there a list? Cheryl, did you say there was a list on the City of Barrie website? Did I hear you say that?
Yeah, okay, so we have some resources that we do note on the website, but I don't want to make anyone feel bad about this. Like, if you aren't using anything right now, Doug, then don't worry about it. Like, but this isn't an exercise to like get to feel badly about. It's just that you have a network of people, you have family, you have daughters, you have people that you could have a casual conversation and say, hey, what resources have you been using or relying on during COVID-19? Maybe they haven't needed anything outside of their physical home, and that's awesome. Mm-hmm. But other people may have needed support in different areas. Like Catherine just shared that the mood disorder support has been really helpful. And so I know a lot of people have been really embracing Barrie Families Unite because of all the amazing work that they've been doing in the community. Yes. So that's a community organization, very grassroots, that now is taking over a charitable designation from another charity. Mm-hmm. So that's awesome. There's the Seniors Center Without Walls, which is a virtual seniors programming that happens every day through the city for seniors and it's a phone-based program because the 55 plus centers in the community haven't been open. So it's a way to have programming, but still remain vigilant with social distancing and all that kind of stuff. So this isn't like we don't have to solve any big problems. Or it was just a suggestion to, like, if you are aware of an organization or a group or a family, maybe your neighbor has been buying groceries for the lady next door to them, Doug. Maybe something as simple as that, you know, but if there's nothing to share from one person to the other, then there's nothing to share. But others may have, you know, because they have a more diverse group or what have you, may have stories about other organizations, you know, that have been doing work in this area. So like, if you guys need something, I can certainly send something out in advance, but it was more like you know, to find out from you guys what you and your people have been using to get by during COVID. So like, don't feel bad if you don't have anything to share. Like, don't like,
that's right.
For you, it'll just be like, awesome. That's like a whole list of like groups I didn't know about, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, everybody, we're good. Okay. Okay, moving on to the International Day for Persons with Disabilities.
I think, Catherine, we were going to introduce Carolyn.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. I have such a short attention span. Cheryl, please introduce yourself. Or Carolyn. Sorry, Carolyn.
That's okay, Catherine. Hello, everybody. I apologize for my tardiness, but I had to go to the dentist, so I'm feeling a little bit frozen here. I do have an Irish accent because Peter, my husband, and I are both from Dublin, Ireland. And we came to Canada in '76 via Hamilton to Timmins and then to Barrie. I mentioned earlier, I'm a retired speech language pathologist. So I have worked with adults, with babies, with children in the schools who have communication and or swallowing issues. And in my retirement, I was very happy to be selected to join your committee, because I do come from a medical background, and so I felt that I would be able to contribute to the committee. I wear bilateral hearing aids, but they are age-related as opposed to being born with a hearing loss. So I live in Barrie, and we have two sons who went to Eastview High School. One is a teacher, and Stephen is in London, England, where they had 15,000 identified cases of COVID on Monday, and they had 80 deaths. So we're in a rough situation in Canada, but take heart. They are much, much worse in England. And Richard, our other son, works in Midland. He's a lawyer. He works in real estate. So he is very, very busy these days because COVID, there are lots of people who are unemployed, who have no jobs. But as everybody knows, in the real estate market, it is very hot. So some people are in dire straits and other people are surviving well in this environment. So I think maybe that's probably enough of a bio at this point. Over time on the committee, I hope to be able to share more with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And welcome. We're a good bunch, and we're not as bad as the dentist.
I think that's very true, Catherine.
Okay, so now we're moving on to 2.4, International Day for Persons with Disability. And Cheryl.
Sorry, Catherine, but I think before we move on, because we have a new member, it would be appropriate for everybody to go around and introduce themselves to Carolyn, including Tammy, who just put her video back on for I'm assuming for that purpose. Sorry, but it's a little bit of weird because it's the Zoom, but we have a new member. You know, she's just shared some wonderful things about herself and her background. I think it's hard to connect with people via Zoom, but let's make it easier by getting to know each other a little bit better. So maybe you could start us off, Catherine, and just introduce yourself to Carolyn and share a little bit.
Mike.
There. Is that good?
Yep.
Okay. Thanks, Cheryl. That's a great idea. And yeah, this meeting format is a little strange because I can't look around the table at everybody. I am Catherine, and let's see. I advocate for people who are living with invisible disabilities for the most part. And my background is in communications and marketing, and I am an author. I've been writing for the past 3 years, I guess. I'm also a mediator, and I've been doing some interesting cases lately, some professional misconduct cases, which have been quite interesting to hear about, millions of dollars worth of fraud and things. Let's see, yeah, author, mediator, married. My husband is wonderful and is sort of retired at the moment. And we have 2 animals. We have a dog and a cat, and they feature regularly on my Facebook page. And that's it. That's me. That's all I got. Next.
I can go next. I'm Heather. I have a undiagnosed severe muscle weakness disability. That means I use a power wheelchair. It affects all of the muscles in my body. So some days I can sit up and look like I'm paying attention, and some days it looks like I'm asleep and not doing anything. And I've actually just started talking with my SLP about alternative communication options. So at some point in the next 6 months, we may do a meeting where everything I say comes through an electronic voice, and I have mixed feelings about this, but apparently I need to consider it. So those are some of my disabilities. I also have 2 kids who are 20 and 16, and they have both got severe disabilities as well. One of them now has a G-tube. Both of them have power wheelchairs. And we just moved into a fully accessible house that we built in the northeast end. We're on Napier Street. So if you've driven down Napier Street and watched a black house being built, that one's mine. And it is fully accessible and has 2 fully accessible apartments in the basement, because we wanted to make accessibility an option for all who live in Barrie. We wanted to try to figure out how to do that. So a lot of the connections and networks I have are related to accessibility for families and for young adults and working adults around the city. So the issues that pertain to them.
Thanks. Louise or Doug?
Oh, I've got myself unmuted. What about you, Doug? I'll go first then. Okay, so well, I've been around a long time in community and social services. I'm a social worker by training, and worked in York and Simcoe. And I worked in the field of disabilities for children and adults, and then I became disabled myself, which was really quite an eye opener in terms of a balance issue. And now I do a fair amount of volunteer work. I've been on a lot of boards and just recently came off independent living services. and works with also Third Age Barrie, which is also another way of people keeping in touch and learning something through Zoom on the list. So I think that the Accessibility Committee is really an important committee that people can bring their concerns to, or we will hear concerns from people, and really excited about hearing that, making the website totally accessible, Cheryl, because I think that is really key for people to access information in this during this time. So that's about me.
Doug, would you like to go ahead?
So, Carolyn, I guess I'm the grumpy one on the committee. I don't know. This is my second term on the advisory committee. I did have a company that dealt with a lot of accessibility issues up until, let me think, about March 15th. And that no longer, well, it's flatlined right now. We have 6 children and 6 grandchildren now. 3 arrived during the pandemic. So there's an upside to everything, I guess. My disability is my hearing as well. I'm hard of hearing. It's not that I'm deaf, I'm hard of hearing. I've been involved with accessibility, more so in the transportation area for the last 20 plus years. And obviously we're all here because we have a passion for trying to make the world an inclusive place. So I think all in all, all our intentions are very good. I think we have a very good group, and I want to welcome you, and hopefully that you'll get into a lot of the conversations and bring a lot of your ideas forth to the committee as well. Thank you.
Sorry, there we go. Thank you. Yes, I think actually the one thing I forgot to say was, yeah, I live with a brain injury, which affects my speech sometimes. I forget words. I have a very interesting aphasia problem, concern. There, I can't even think of the word I want. Situation. I just keep going until I find the word, actually. That's what it's all about. But I always say that as a writer, it's a horrible thing to forget words. I don't forget them in my brain. I just can't get them out. And so I also suffer from, one of the things that I suffer from or with is hearing loss. And that was a couple of things I with the brain injury, and I also had meningitis. So I have kind of a tough time hearing sometimes. And so that's that. And I realized that Robert is on his or in his truck, but maybe he can introduce himself as well and just tell us a little bit about him.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Robert Thompson. I'm the actual counselor of Ward 5 in the city of Barrie, and I was appointed to this committee. And to be honest, they sell themselves short. They are actually a great bunch of volunteers that bring a very vast experience, and it's been actually a pleasure of being part of it. I run a construction company is my full-time job. I'm married with 2 kids, and I've lived in Barrie since 2002.
I mean, thank you. Sorry, it's mute, not mute. Still getting used to it. Tammy.
Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'm Tammy Maynard. I'm the committee support clerk. I work in the Legislative and Court Services Department. So Carolyn, I wanted to welcome you. I think I've met you before, the Heritage meet. You used to be on the Heritage Committee, if I'm not mistaken. So you're going to be a wonderful asset to the Accessibility Committee.
Thank you.
Yeah, so welcome.
Thank you.
And the woman who needs no introduction, Cheryl.
Hi, Carolyn. Welcome. My name is Cheryl Dillon, and I'm like Tammy, I'm a staff member, and my role is accessibility and diversity advisor for the city. So I'm a staff liaison for this group, and it's my absolute pleasure to support this group of amazing human beings to do what it is that they do. So yes, thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Now we can move on to item 2.4, which is the International Day for Persons with Disabilities. Cheryl.
So that happens every year on December 3rd, even though it's a weird year, it's still going to happen. So we can't really do a lot. There's no physical meetings and things like that going on, but I wanted to know if you would be interested in a proclamation to City Council. And if that's the case, then I can draft a proclamation and I can email it to everybody and you guys can let me know what you think. And then we can have City Council proclaim International Day of Persons with Disabilities on December 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to do a motion for that?
No, you
Tammy,
don't.
do we need,
No.
okay.
Just
Okay.
thumbs up. Everybody in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks, Robert. Okay, looks good.
Wonderful. I'll pull that together and I'll have it done so early that the mayor's secretary will fall off her seat, because it'll usually I get things to her like the Thursday before council meeting and I have to ask and plead and beg for them to squish something on. So okay, cool.
Can I just ask one question? Is there any value in making a special mention this year of those newly affected by disability as a result of COVID?
Potentially, let's work it out, and then you can like provide input, as it goes around. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a great idea. Yeah.
Okay, any questions? We're good. We'll move on to 2.5 now, the Accessibility Arts Awards.
Okay, so this is a sad, but it's just an announcement. The Accessibility Arts Awards, like most things, because of COVID, has been canceled. So I heard from the economic, creative, and economic development staff member who facilitates that, and they're just totally canceling the awards this year. Typically, the Accessibility Advisory Committee sponsors a recipient of the accessible, like the Artist Without Barriers Award. So next year, like it's probably too early to think about, but maybe next year in 2021, because we didn't get to do it in 2020, maybe we consider sponsoring 2 awards. But maybe what we do is we really push and we say we'll sponsor both awards in part, and then really push to find community donators. That community donations, matching donations, because our donations, like they're in the scheme of things, it's a drop in the bucket. Like usually you donate $2,000. It's small, right? And so for a large corporate, like if we got Bush Systems, for example, to sponsor, like that's nothing. Like it's $2,000. But to the artist who has a disability, who can't, go to different shows to showcase their art because of their disability, that $2,000 is the world, right? So maybe we say, let's create for 1 year for 2021, because COVID happened, we do $1,000 for 2 awards, and then really push to have community donations to match. Because we always talked about that, but life and busyness just always got in the way of really going out and appealing to the community. So there's no decisions to be made right now. This is just an announcement to say that the awards have been canceled for 2020. I'm just putting a bug in your ear. I'm planting seeds, something for us to consider in 2021. Yeah. Heather.
I'm just curious, obviously that's a sizable chunk of our budget. If we don't use it for this purpose, can we carry it over into 2021?
No.
If not, is there something else that we could or should use it for?
It's unfortunately, this is one of those cases where municipal budgets like this, you cannot carry it. This type of budget, it doesn't carry over. It's gonna be lost. And I don't think from a municipal budget management perspective, we really try to dissuade people from hurrying up and spending money just because they have it. Like that's not the way to go. Like, we really want you to use your budget, but we don't want you to make stuff up to you. Like, this is just such a weird year, like it's going to be scratched, like and you're not the only ones, like everybody's in this kind of position. So, I
just wanted to clarify so I knew.
Yeah. Doug.
Heather, the same happened on the Heritage Committee. Is if you didn't use the money, then it couldn't be moved over to the following year, which was very disappointing. But that's, Cheryl, just the way the city operates.
Just for some clarity, not to interrupt, Doug, but it's not just the city. That's part of the Municipal Act.
Yeah.
And it's the use it or lose it mentality.
I was gonna say it's not just Barrie. It's it's everybody. Yeah.
Part of it. Sorry to interrupt, Doug.
No, and that's a good point, Councillor Thompson, because it's about fiscal responsibility. Like, I know a lot of people have heard over the pandemic the comments about the municipality and different things. There's grants that are being provided to private sector organizations for their employees and things like that. And the municipality hasn't been able to access the same funds. And part of that is because we're supposed to have a balanced budget. So we take in revenue from taxpayers. And so we're supposed to be good stewards of that money. And we work really hard to be, and the Municipal Act and other pieces of legislation kind of keep that account possible. And so, like, we are getting assistance from the federal government, but it's, for things like infrastructure and we were using it to support our businesses that generate revenue, like transit, and for infrastructure like our roads, which are critical, right? So I know that's confusing to a lot of people who aren't in the municipal government sector, but it's just kind of.
If I could just add one thing, and not to pump the tires of our staff and the CEO, and Barrie's actually in a lot better of a financial situation because of tough decisions than a lot of other municipal governments, and that's really all credited to our staff. I know council's not supposed to boast about staff, and it's supposed to be us against you, and I'm supposed to keep you guys in check, but
I love it. Come on, that's good.
in all fairness, there were some tough decisions.
There were.
But it's actually been in all residents' favor of some of the service cuts and stuff, but it's just part of the municipal world we live in.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Doug, question.
Yeah, actually, I guess back to maybe a twofold. One is that if there is something that we can do some funding with, maybe that's an idea. like some of these services that we talked earlier about the impact of on accessibility. If there's something that we can not fund but help or maybe not. I mean, but at least it gives us some food for thought that there's something that we possibly can do in lieu of it this year. And I do like the idea, Cheryl, of possibly a corporate or community sponsorship for the Accessibility Arts Award. Go in partnership just for, even if it's only for the 1 year until we can catch back up again. Just a thought.
So we'll talk more about that later. It's like I said, it's like really, we don't need to vote on anything now. The announcement is really just that's kind of kibosh for 2020. So, and just kind of ideas. So just a bug in your ear.
Okay, it's something to look forward to next year. Another thing to look forward to next year, including next year, right? Moving along, Doug, you are up with Volt Hockey update.
Well, I haven't spoken much with Archie, and he is eager to provide us with a presentation on Volt Hockey. Unfortunately, given the situation today, a lot of facilities aren't doing much in the recreation area. In fact, as I mentioned earlier, one of the places that we even thought about moving this to, and we invited the general manager of the YMCA, it's now gone. So a friend of mine said something to me a couple of months ago, because everybody's been devastated business-wise. Councillor Thompson's been fortunate, but for the most part, everybody's been devastated. And he said to me, he says, the best thing we can do is just take the 2020 calendar and rip it up and go right to 2021. So I don't think we're going to see much movement other than, and I think to have a presentation prematurely until we know what the climate is regarding facilities, because it's a whole new ball game now, right? As far as facilities, volunteers, participants. I mean, I think that we may be in this topic putting the cart before the horse.
I think that's probably a really good idea. I was actually just thinking, how would we even promote this without the YMCA? And I know like the city will, like our city staff are interested, but they have their own programming, and they can't even do their own programming full time right now. So I think it's just a hurry up and wait kind of year.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so the last item we have on the agenda here is the Stopgap update, and I'm certainly interested to hear about that.
Kind of like Doug, it's a little like it's just been a little bit slow. I'm really sad because we thought we could get a stopgap ramp for Farmer Right on Collier Street, the downtown pharmacy, but the Stopgap Foundation, they won't do one for that location because it's just not built correctly. Like the Stopgap ramps are really, they're only meant to be light, portable, temporary ramps for a certain type of a rise. So the step has to be like a one step. And the Farmer Right, because there's just such old buildings, even though it looks like it's one step, it's actually like it's a huge chunk of rock or concrete or stone or some sort leading into it. And to do like, so the foundation has basically said like they can't make a ramp small enough to fit the requirements. So the way Stopgap works is you put it out in the morning and then you pick it up at the end of the day. And you do that so that you can get around encroachment agreements, and you don't have to have like, bylaw amendments, all sorts of things, like, because if you have a large ramp impeding the right of way, pedestrian traffic,
Mhm.
it impacts so many things, right? It impacts the businesses on either side of you, which is the encroachment agreement. It impacts our bylaw, all sorts of stuff. And so the stopgap ramps are really nifty because they're little. So it's just an extra oomph. It's like to get over. And so I'm really sad. So I thought we could get one for them and get one for them for free. They are working with our building department and our other staff to get something. I think they need something. I think what they need to do, because it's it's such an old building, they need to they need to change the infrastructure in the entryway of their their business, in order to accommodate a ramp in other ways. So they're working with people that are much more technical than I am to figure that out. So that's that. But the rest of the program has kind of been put on hold because the school we had Bear Creek was our school woodworking class, and Bear Creek has told me that they're just not prepared to do this in 2020. So I don't know. I feel like this is kind of like a downer of an agenda, because it's like all these cool things, but nope, we can't do them. But at least the one thing that I have to say that's positive is at least our community partners are still really interested in engaging with us. They're still really interested. They just have so many things to worry about in order to keep kids safe in schools right now. So this is not something that is, they don't have the capacity to do this now. But I've heard that January 2021, it better live up to the hype, man, because they've said that they'll be fit to hit the ground running in the new year. So yeah.
Yeah, that's good, because with all the beautiful work that's been done on Dunlop Street, there on one hand, there is better accessibility to buildings. And on the other hand, there are still, steps that are inaccessible, and it will be much better when the next layer of asphalt goes onto the street, because I've witnessed actually a couple of people trip on the ledge that should actually be flush with the street. So I assume that that's going to happen maybe even before the end of the year, I hope. But I guess we'll see. But
what area of Dunlop Street is that happening?
It's the entire, well, I know it's from Owen to Bayfield Street, that the
okay, that will get more,
yeah.
that will get more asphalt.
Okay.
From Mulcaster, I was gonna say, if you're seeing something from Mulcaster to Clapperton, then that's a problem, because they're not getting any more asphalt yet. Like that should be done.
Yeah.
But but from Owen to Bayfield, they still need to put asphalt. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
That's sort of my
I'm gonna make
territory when I'm
sure
downtown. Yeah.
No, I make sure thankfully the contractor that's working on that is super responsive, and anytime I hear anything, I let them know. And honestly, the next day they're out there doing stuff to help, because that's really bad for their business if the work that they're doing is causing people to fall on their face, right? So I'll make sure I provide that information to them, and they'll look into that. So thank you.
Thank you. It's just, I know it's one of those things that's temporary, but I have tripped. And I have seen other people trip because I spend a lot of time in that area, and I've seen people trip. I saw a woman fall actually, which made me very nervous. So I made sure she was okay. And yeah, Heather.
Terribly sorry, but the therapist is here, so I'm going to have to let you guys go. Thanks so much for all the work. I will see you soon.
Thanks, Heather. Take care. Okay. I'm still trying to figure out this mute, non-mute. So bear with me. I'm sorry.
You're doing a good job, Catherine. You're doing a good job.
It's a little different. I use Microsoft Meetings for mediation, and so it's a little different. I just have to keep hitting the button here, and it's a new laptop, so it's all the things today. So okay, so now we're moving on to meeting schedule. I guess that's all we have left. Cheryl?
Actually, that's Tammy. So we need to talk about when you're going to have your meetings. So typically, you guys meet January to June, to the end of June, and you don't meet July and August. Sometimes you do if there's, it's up to the chair's discretion. And then typically you start up again in September, and then you take December off. And I know that there's probably an interest in meeting in December because you guys haven't met for so long, but it's a weird year, and I want you guys to be mindful that there may not be a lot of business to talk about. So don't, if you want to, absolutely, but because we've had so much that's been kind of canceled or delayed, and previous years what we've done is we maybe haven't had a meeting in December, but we've had a social gathering. We're not going to be social gathering.
Oh,
so
come on.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh, gee. Okay, so then we would meet in November and then move on to January. Is that correct? Okay.
And it could all be depending on what's on the agenda too. If there's nothing really to discuss, it's at your call, Catherine.
Okay, so we'll look at, okay, so we'll look at it at the end of October. Doug?
Just as a suggestion or a recommendation, I think, unfortunately, I think we carry on business as usual, and business as usual is our September, October, November meeting, and we stick to the schedule. Maybe that's our protest to COVID. We won't let it change our timetable or schedules. Just my own suggestion and recommendation.
Okay, good. Thanks, Doug. I think we'll have to look to see what's going to be on the agenda if we have anything coming up, because I mean, this one was just all about cancel everything. But if we have items that are, we can.
And it was about meeting Carolyn. So,
oh yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Carolyn. Yes, I'm sorry. Carolyn with freezing in her mouth still. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to say?
Does this time frame still work for everybody too? I just want to ask the time. Okay.
7 o'clock would be great for me, but I wouldn't ask everybody to do that. So.
We appreciate you joining us, even if you're driving. I apologize, but I think this works well for everyone else.
Definitely, I'm only joking. That was very selfish of me. The only thing extra I wanted to add is just, we didn't really talk about it, and I know it's been a while, but I was wondering if there would be anything we could do with the awards, if we could name them in honor of Tom. For a year or something, like, in calling it just for, maybe not as an ongoing thing, but maybe in 2021 or something. But that's just a food for thought kind of thing.
That's an amazing idea, but it's not on the agenda, Councillor Thompson. So as you know, we shouldn't spend too much time on it. But I think like the Artists Without Barriers Award is probably not the award to do for that, but perhaps what we could do is have a Accessibility Advisory Committee Community Leader Award or something like that. And we could consider naming it after Tom for 1 year. The other trick to that is the fact that we've had other committee members on this committee, not necessarily members that you guys would know, but we've had several amazing community members who've passed away as well. So I've been with the city since 2010, and unfortunately, there have been 2, 3, 4 members of the committee that have passed away in that time. So, but it's a great idea. Like, you know, I think we can explore that. Maybe what we do is we have like a commemorative award where we name everybody. But I think that's an agenda item, perhaps for the November meeting.
There we go. We're going to meet.
Just one last thing. Can I just jump in?
Oh, sure, Doug. Yeah.
Cheryl, if we're going to do that, then should we also, because we pretty much decided that there was businesses that we were going to name this year as well. Can we still do that in a virtual setting?
No, we're not doing an award for Tom in his name this year. That would be for 2021, and that would be something that we'd have to put on the agenda. But all awards this year have been canceled. So yeah, sorry.
Okay. So I've just marked that down for 2021 as well. 2021 is going to be a great year. We're going to have, but we're all going to be busy. Get your sleep now. Anything else that anybody wants to say before we adjourn?
It was great seeing everybody, and stay safe. That's pretty much all I would like to close out with.
Absolutely. I think that's the most important thing, is that we take care of our health in a lot of ways over the next little while. And I still think we're heading into the unknown, unfortunately.
I agree. And I think, you know, maybe it starts with us. Maybe we just need to check in on each other, you know, as a committee. You know, I think it would be a good thing. I'm going to. So if you hear from me, answer me, okay?
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
All right. Anyone else? We're good? Okay,
It
I
was
guess
so great to see your faces.
it's good to
Yes.
see everybody.
Very
Yeah,
nice
it
to
really
see everybody.
was.
So
Yes,
nice
and
to
nice
meet you,
to meet
Carolyn.
you, Carolyn.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much, everybody.
So nice to meet you. Welcome. All right, then we will adjourn. And thank you very much.
Take
Okay.
care.
Take care.
everybody.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.